Hello, everyone. I'm Christina, and it's been a very busy week. I know a lot of things are going on overseas, and it's affecting America. And today we're going to talk about something else that will affect America. Something that you really didn't think could, because I know this. I got a lot of feedback several years ago when I first started mentioning this. So this actually kind of blew my mind. So I can't wait to get into this with you guys. Hello, TNT. It's so good to see you. Oh, there's 10 of you already here. Welcome, Marilyn Levin and James Motley. Good. Alrighty, we're going to start by letting you know that a lot of the things that I'm about to talk about, I've got links for these PDF files in the description box. One of them is very, very lengthy. I took excerpts out, obviously, because one of them is over 100 pages long. We're not going to be on here for no 3 days talking about this. Okay, want to what's it called? Encourage you to like and subscribe and comment, and please be a share bearer. And speaking of sharing, I want to thank Paul and Adrian for sharing the post that this live is coming up. You guys are the best. I love y'all so much, and I wish nothing but blessings for you, both of you. I've had some storms raging across the U.S. Soon is going to be hurricane season. All right. When I mentioned this several years ago, there were several things going on along the coast from Texas to Florida. The big thing on the news was the sinkholes that were popping up absolutely everywhere, all over Houston, all the way to Florida. All right. But I was telling y'all I'd had a vision. God had told me. But it turns out that there's a thing called earthquake sensitivity. All right. There's an actual definition. All right. And earthquake sensitivity and earthquake sensitive are pseudoscientific terms defined by Jim Birkeland to refer to certain people who claim sensitivity to the precursors of impending earthquake, manifested in dreams, visions, impressions, psychological symptoms, the latter including ear tones like ringing in the ears, headaches. If you've been suffering this, take note, and agitation, like you're more irritable than normal. Okay. Ringing in the ears, headaches, agitation, possibly even nausea. That one's not in there, but it would have to be. It is claimed that a person with a very sensitive body may also have some subtle reaction to whatever animals react to. So we've been seeing bizarre animal behavior popping up in different areas, definitely on the west coast of America. But we should also be watching animals across America because there's a lot of pressure going on, right? Proponents have speculated that these may result from 1, piezoelectric effects due to changes in the stress of Earth's crust, 2, low-frequency electromagnetic signals, or 3, from the emission of radon gas. Let's check oh my goodness! So many people here. Hello, G. Miser, Stone the Crows, Sunshine, Diana, David, Gort, Earl Scott, love you too. Todd. Yep. Joe gotta go. Clarissa. All righty. All right. Thank you for the thumbs up also. Okay. I want you to know that there's a lot about the Gulf of Mexico that is still unclear or not known. Research is ongoing, but let me tell you, what they do know, they are keeping under wraps. When you try to look up Gulf of Mexico tectonics, nothing comes up. But then one day I tried something called salt tectonic plates in the Gulf of Mexico, and it opened Pandora's box for me. Okay. Salt tectonics sculpt the geologic strata and seafloor in the Gulf of Mexico. It sculpts it, and it's like few other places on Earth. So this is a rarity. We're going to be talking about things like crustal thinning. This is about the Gulf of Mexico, not just crustal thinning in general. All this is referring to the Gulf. Okay. Crustal thinning in mantle plumes, transforming boundaries, opening by rotation, hot spots, gravity anomalies south of Louisiana and Mississippi, and believe it or not, a Houston magnetic anomaly. That's right. That's a thing. I did not make that up. In fact, the Houston magnetic anomaly is the picture that's on the video. I didn't make that picture. I am a terrible artist, and I don't have any artist friends that I know of. So, just so you know. All right. We're going to start with the PDF file, Gulf of Mexico Tectonic History on hotspot tracks, crustal boundaries, and early salt distribution. And it kind of gives us a little bit of the history, but this history explains quite a few things that are happening now. So don't get bored by the history. It's relevant now, and it answers actually quite a few questions as to why we're seeing certain things in Galveston and buoys moving in certain places. Okay. All right. Yeah, the link is in the description box, FYI. Okay. The autochthonous salt appears to be confined to the continental plate. I'm sorry, I need to be able to speak properly. The salt appears to be confined to the continental flanks of the hotspot tracks, confirming that salt was deposited during continental extension and not after the ocean floor had begun to form. So we're talking about when the Gulf of Mexico was formed. The part where Florida was had to open up, but the part around Texas and Mexico had to kind of thin and expand. More so the thinning when it was around Texas, maybe Louisiana, there was a thinning along the coast, but there was a transformation that was going on. And so the salt was deposited during this continental extension when the Gulf opened up and not after the ocean floor had begun to form. We have a lot of salt. They're calling it salt tectonics, for real. So they are intertwined. The shape of the Gulf of Mexico requires that at least one ocean continent transform boundary was active while the basin was opening. That's right. Okay. Determining the tectonic events that contributed to the formation and evolution of the Gulf of Mexico depends on an ability to define the size, shape, and extent of major structures in the basin and at its margins. Now they start talking about crustal thickness, and it varies throughout the Gulf of Mexico depending on where you are. Okay. Crustal thickness ranges from about 5 to 8 kilometers, which is about 3.1 to 5.0 miles, 3 to 5 miles in crustal thickness in these deeper parts of the basin. That's not very deep, where water depths are generally greater than 3 kilometers, indicating the presence of oceanic crust. So they're not just talking about the crust at the bottom of the Gulf, they're talking about the crustal thickness range in the deeper parts, right? Crustal thickness from refraction data roughly north of the Texas-Louisiana shelf edge and south near the Yucatan escarpment range to certain kilometers, indicating thinned continental crust, except for the Keithley Canyon and Yucatan parallel structures. I know you might not know where that is, but it's basically saying, around the Texas-Louisiana shelf edge, somewhere near the Yucatan escarpment, there is thinning. Okay. The Keithley and the Yucatan parallel structures, when I looked at the map, looks like it was more towards the middle areas of the Gulf. All right. Okay. The crust of the Yucatan parallel structure is so many miles thick, and it is well defined by seismic reflection and refraction data along its crest and to the north and south of the structure. The crustal structure of hotspot tracks is similar to that of oceanic crust, but with greater variability in thickness and velocity. All but one of these evolutionary model categories fall into one of two groups, either those that require rotation of the Yucatan block, which is around Mexico. That's where it would rotate. That's where it did before. So what it's saying to me, okay, when you look at history, the continents were closer together. And it seems like there must be something cyclical about it, because every so often the geography of the world will change. All right. So if the Yucatan Peninsula had to extend itself, that the Texas Louisiana area, the shelving had to thin, then there's a possibility that it could do it again. And when you look at the salt that was coming out of the Gulf of Mexico, like the Galveston area, that may prove that there is crustal thinning taking place now. Okay. Let's check the comments. We got 480 people. Thank you for the thumbs up. Hello, Adrian. It's good to see you. Paul. Okay. All right. Okay, Pamela. Okay. All right. Let's continue. The Yucatan Peninsula tectonic block. So now they say this, Yucatan Peninsula tectonic block. That means that even though I couldn't type it in and find the tectonics anywhere on Google, these 4 words say that there are tectonics down there. That the Gulf of Mexico is just not some quiet Garden of Eden with nothing really going on down there and nothing to worry about. It was back when I mentioned this, I was like, man, years ago, I said something's wrong in the Gulf. And I mentioned there were volcanoes down there. People didn't even know that. They thought I was trying to get views or something. I honestly was so shocked that nobody knew. But, I'm from the Gulf. I thought everybody knew. No. Like I said, they keep a tight lid on the Gulf. And if they're doing that, do you really think it's that safe? Really? I'm just saying, make your own conclusions. I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'm telling you what's up. That's all. You do you. Okay? Okay, the Yucatan Peninsula tectonic block is not included in the remaining model. The prevailing consensus favors rotation with a single ocean continent transform boundary or shear margin located just offshore and subparallel to the eastern coast of central Mexico. So, the Yucatan Peninsula is around the Mexico southern tip, right? So they're saying the ocean continent transform boundary or shear margin is located just offshore of Mexico. A gap between the current edges of the northern Yucatan shelf and the western Florida shelf exists after reconstruction by the single ocean continent transform boundary model. So the Florida had to open up, and Texas did that. That's how the Gulf of Mexico. So you can see where the wider part of the Gulf of Mexico is where it opened up, and where Florida is, it's stretched in that part of Florida is where it opened up from the Atlantic. So I got an itch. Okay. All right. They exist after reconstruction by the single ocean continent transform boundary model. Suggests a modification to the model whereby southern Florida is displaced to the southeast along a hypothesized Bahama fracture zone. Did you know Bahamas have a fracture zone? I didn't. Okay, so Florida was displaced along the Bahama fracture zone prior to the rotation of the Yucatan block. Okay, a lot of things have been going on in the Bahamas lately. Burke suggested that the Yucatan was originally longer, thus filling the gap, and that it was later shortened to its present length. This explanation is supported by the Mesozoic Guanaguanico terrain of western Cuba. So Cuba has something to do with this, okay? The terrain of western Cuba that was sheared from the Yucatan as the Caribbean plate was inserted between North and South America. The hot spot tract continued to grow only on the Yucatan block. Therefore, although Keithley Canyon tract shows the relative motion between North America and the mantle plume, yes, you heard that, mantle plume, because you got the crust and then you've got the mantle underneath it, and they're saying there's a mantle plume here. It only records part of the total opening history. Okay, this is a history, but it does, when you look at what's going on around the Gulf, these little odd things, now they start to make sense. The dots can be connected, all right? A mantle plume is a proposed mechanism of convection within the Earth's mantle. Because the plume head partially melts on reaching shallow depths, A plume is often invoked as the cause of volcanic hotspots, such as Hawaii or Iceland, and large igneous provinces such as the Deccan and Siberian traps. Some such volcanic regions lie far from tectonic plate boundaries, while others represent unusually large volume volcanism near plate boundaries. We know there are volcanoes in the Gulf. There's asphalt ones, but they actually have volcanic rock that they found in the bottom of the Gulf of Mexico. Going on, it says it is the Yucatan parallel track that records the total rotation history during the seafloor spreading phase of the evolution of the Gulf of Mexico. The two interpreted hotspot tracks on parts of the basin that are underlain by oceanic crust, and their formation was from the west to the east over time. A line drawn from the northwestern end of the Keithley Canyon anomaly to the eastern end of the Yucatan parallel anomaly, because the Keithley Canyon and Yucatan are parallel. That's what they're saying. On the northwestern end of those two places is the full length of the hotspot track. Hey, gravy. They mapped fracture zones using aeromagnetic data over the eastern Gulf of Mexico. Salt in the Gulf of Mexico can be generally divided into two large regions: the northern Gulf of Mexico salt basin and the Campeche salt basin, which are interpreted to have formed contemporaneously. Okay, that they were formed contemporaneously. Well, what does that word mean? It means originating at the same time. Okay, the two large regions formed about the same time. The original distribution of salt deposits in the Gulf of Mexico are probably closely related to the areal extent of the continental crust. Do you hear that? The salt deposits in the Gulf are probably closely related to the areal extent of the continental crust. Y'all, I hope y'all understand what I'm saying here. We're talking about the crust, mantle plumes, boundary transformation, hot spots, margin shearing, spreading. Okay, there's more. There's more. Anomalies. Dude. Okay. Hello, Dan. She said Clarissa says she had a 9-day bout of depression right before the big quake that hit Japan in 2011. See, you're one of them sensitive people. You are. That's a special person, Clarissa. Alrighty. Hello, Cowboys 8. So the salt will melt. Well, what the salt would do with the water is that it would change the salinity. But in order for something like that to happen, that would mean that there is pressure underneath that salt and all around that salt that's causing the water intrusions, or you see what I'm saying, the salt to intrude into the water. And that's why we were seeing that whole Galveston clear blue water thing, because something's wrong. And it was, Galveston, around Galveston, really close there is little towns called Crosby and Highlands and Baytown, and they were getting sinkholes really, really bad. It's really close to Galveston just some years ago, and they still are. There was a huge one, I think, in Beaumont or Liberty down the way a few hours. But if you're looking at Galveston, okay, and you're looking at the salt tectonics, and if it has anything to do with the continental shelves, you see what I'm saying? It's all connected. It's all connected. And if you have pressure on the earth that's causing all volcanoes on earth to fill with magma, even ancient ones that have been dormant for however many millions of years or whatever, we have them down there. And in order for them to start acting up, there would have to be pressure on the magma pushing it up from underneath. I'm telling you, it's happening everywhere. Okay? Yes, it would, Paul. That's right. That's absolutely right. Paul said salt would make it somewhat corrosive and more conductive. I'm telling you, your skin will never dry out so fast in your life. You get in that water. Yes. Okay, so melting, no. Breaking through to places they weren't before, yes, absolutely. Okay. All right. Where did we leave off? Hall interprets the lack of salt-related sedimentary structures in the Keithley Canyon concession area as evidence that little or no in this canyon that little salt was deposited. Furthermore, just in that area. Furthermore, he reports that thick salt sheets in the Keithley Canyon concession area were probably sourced from the north. Well, the north from Keithley Canyon in the Gulf of Mexico, that's Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Florida. That's what's to the north of the Keithley. So if the salt was deposited there and it came from the north, it came from the south. Where we live, the south, what we consider the south. Salt came from us and down there. Okay, which means that since we still live on salt, the salt can move again. The salt can move. And if the salt's moving, our land is moving. Already. Okay. Okay. All right. Now, they also mentioned something called the Gulf of Mexico Magnetic Anomaly Grid. Now, that freaked me out. I'm trying to look. See, okay, it's Britannica says a marine magnetic anomaly is a variation in strength of Earth's magnetic field caused by magnetism in rocks of the ocean floor. So we know magnetic anomaly has to do with the ocean floor and the magnetic field, okay? We've been having problems with our magnetosphere, our shield, okay? It's causing all these problems on Earth and underneath our feet, okay? But a magnetic anomaly has something to do with the magnetic field and magnetism in the rocks of the ocean floor. Marine magnetic anomalies typically represent 1% of the total geomagnetic field strength. They can be stronger or weaker than the average total field. Now, if we're seeing disintegration of certain things in the Gulf, then that means we probably have a weaker magnetic thing going on. It's got to be. We've got a weaker everything. If that's the way I would see it, I may be perceiving that wrong, but it looks like it's weaker around the southern coast than the average total field. Also, the magnetic anomalies occur in long bands that run parallel to spreading centers for hundreds of kilometers and may reach up to a few tens of kilometers in width. Okay, I was checking the time. All right, then there was this integrated geophysical analysis in the northeastern Gulf of Mexico. I have that link in the comments description box, not the comments. Okay, this one says that the Gulf of Mexico has a tectonic history. Yes, it does. So again, the Gulf of Mexico has tectonics. Yeah, betcha. It not only has tectonics, but it has a history. Okay. All right. Several crustal earthquakes with the focal depths below 14 kilometers occurred in the middle of the oceanic domain in the study area. This is about the Gulf, but far away from known tectonic structures. No current tectonic model takes these into consideration, although these are large magnitude events, like 4.9 to 5.9. They're saying this has happened in the Gulf. 4.9 is 5, and I've seen it, yes. The focal mechanisms developed for two of these earthquakes suggest compressional stress released along faults that do not correlate with any spreading centers or transform faults. Our study ties the observed seismicity in the northeastern Gulf of Mexico with a zone of weakness called a pseudofault between two distinct oceanic domains resulted from two spreading episodes. So when the Gulf spread, it wasn't just once, it was at least two. Okay. And so what they're trying to say here is that, yes, we can have seismic activity, we have tectonics, and that these may not have been considered. Okay. It says salt deposits started accumulating in the stretched continental region, which would have been the U.S. southern coast. The salt deposits started accumulating there. Okay. that part of the region. Okay, no. Next sentence. There was a presence of a pronounced magnetic anomaly, not just a gravitational anomalies in the Gulf. No. Not just in the South Atlantic anomaly. No. We have the presence of a pronounced magnetic anomaly along the Texas coastline. It's a little above the tip, starts there and goes all the way to East Texas. Little zone of the Texas magnetic anomaly. They call it, you won't believe this, it's known as the Houston magnetic anomaly. Now, it's not the only magnetic anomaly in the Gulf, though. Louisiana and Florida also have magnetic anomalies. Okay? Gravity and magnetic signals were generated due to changes in crustal thicknesses and property. So these gravitational and magnetic anomalies and signals are generated due to changes in crustal thickness and properties. Are y'all hearing me? It's no wonder the salt was able to escape into the ocean like that. I mean, into the Gulf, right? There's a change in crustal thickness. They've talked about around the world that crustal displacement is happening around the world. So that is something to think about. So I guess what I'm trying to say is whatever you think you might be seeing around the world, it can happen and probably is happening in the Gulf of Mexico. And we have been seeing signs that something's amiss down there, signs that something is wrong. Okay. And I've mentioned Houston so many times in the past going, I kept pointing. I was like, something's wrong. Okay. All right. Okay. Yes. So, one thing about the Houston magnetic anomaly is that it would only show me a picture. It didn't want to talk about it that much. But if it's anything like the South Atlantic anomaly, then you won't just be experiencing problems with crustal thickness. But if I'm not mistaken, I mean, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, would it also be possible that that this could be a point where we could have like a polarity change? You know, like what was positive can become negative. Does that make sense? Because we are in a magnetic pole reversal worldwide happening. You know, so certain places would have magnetic problems, right? Okay. Right. I mean, okay. So much for nothing's wrong in the Gulf of Mexico, nothing to look at. There, so much for no volcanoes, so much for no tectonics, so much for all that. And I think it's pretty clear now why Galveston was seeing clear blue water. And I'll tell you something else. It's probably not going to be the last time, because what's happening, the pressure on the earth is getting worse. And if that can happen in Galveston, it can probably happen in Louisiana too. Okay? We are heading for a pole shift. Hell is enlarging itself could cause this, maybe. Perhaps, if it's in the core of the earth, because the core, from what I understood, is expanding. All right? So, yes, Houston magnetic anomaly. Can you believe that? All right. And so while we're in the middle of all this, it's going completely under the radar. People wouldn't know what they were looking at, really, because a lot of the exploration from the Gulf didn't happen till really the last 20 years, mapping even. A lot of people, unless you were from the coast and was around a bunch of rig workers and rednecks like I was, chemical plant workers like my daddy, would have never known. My dad even was a scuba diver instructor with his father in the Gulf. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we know this, but apparently nobody else did. So while this is all going on, we got to prepare, because the magnetic pole reversal that we're going through is causing these famines. It's causing the wildfires. It's causing the floods, all this freak weather. That's because of that, okay? And we have what people call now bare shelves Biden, okay? Whether you voted for him, I don't care. Whether you like him or not is not really what I'm getting at. I'm saying this guy has not helped the situation. We are heading for doom in some way. It's dominoes falling, all right? And we got more. These bare shelves are going to get worse. That is always the way I understood it. They're talking about food rationing now. It's starting to hit America. No kidding, okay? Before too long, what we have in our house, we're going to be rationing that too. You know? And this is something to think about. If you're anything like me, maybe you are, maybe you aren't. You have kids. Okay? I am not a rich woman. I'm not mad about that. I'm fine. Whatever God gave me, I am so thankful for. Okay? Honest to God. I live in RV. Thank you, Father. Thank you. For real. Okay? But there's not a whole lot of food I can hide in this place. We do have coats. We do have pots and pans. We do have our toiletries. We have my daughter's books, things. We really don't have a lot of room to store too much food here. So whatever I do have here is only going to be able to feed my family, which is why I told other people, why other people said, hey, there's going to be a famine. Not just me, lots of people. Stock up. Okay? But what you're going to start running into soon, the worse this keeps going, when the shelves really are bare, when people are dying in line waiting to go into the grocery store to get a handful of things for $80, your friends or whoever, especially the ones you warned, so that they'd be safe, will come to you wanting to take food out of your baby's mouths, calling you unchristian, calling you selfish. Okay? You need to get ready for that. People knocking on your door. They will. Okay? And the 5 brides that were foolish and the 5 that were wise, this story comes in. The story of Moses. When God closes that grocery store door, when he closes those doors and it's too late, if you have not listened, there's nothing a whole lot can do. Maybe there are some places that God had other people put extra provisions by for other people that came by, but that wasn't my house. I was only able to provide for a little while with the kids that I have. That's it. I'm not going to have extra. So if there are people thinking you're going to go to somebody's house when things happen, unless you've been provided for, unless you've had those provisions put aside, you might not get in. Okay? You can't expect other people to value your life if you don't. Okay? And yes, I know some people can't, but I know a lot of people also made a lot of excuses because the last few years, especially with COVID come along, you should have known. You know what I mean? I know. And the rest of us that have nothing, when it comes down to my last bite, I'm all on God's graces, just like everybody else. Okay? It's something to really consider. Okay? No, he didn't. And he couldn't open the door back for anybody. Yeah, well, yes, Dan, there was no oil in their lamps. And some people have thought of this like the oil of God or something, the fire in heaven. But I said, no. Because they had to literally go to a merchant to get more oil. And any oil coming from heaven, fire of the Holy Spirit, it's not something you can buy or sell. The oil in that lamp, the lamps was something that they could buy. It was a physical item. And in the case of these brides, it's the same as in us. If we give you what we've got, then we won't have any for ourselves, at least in my case. You see what I'm saying? Yes. And see, that's where it is, when I don't have any more food left, I better know how to trap something. I certainly won't. I mean, everybody's going to be pretty much in the same boat. So, go in the grocery store, begging other people, none of that. You're going to have to use this. And I've heard these stories of Manna coming from heaven, God not making you hungry. Remember, Jesus multiplied the fish, but people were praying. There was a huge crowd following Jesus. Jesus did this for his people. Okay, so when it gets down to the wire, you're going to find out if you're really God's child or not. Are you going to go to your neighbor, or are you going to go to God? And if it means that your last bite that you're going to die, if you really don't have anything else to eat and this is it, you're going to die. If you are God's child, really dying at that point, it shouldn't be a fear. We're going home. You see what I mean? So I think in a lot of cases, we're going to find out who the real believers are by what they end up doing. And some of these might look like your friends. Some of them might go to your church. Okay? Too many. Anybody you've heard, I'll just go to their house. Those are the ones to watch. Because their plan was you. Okay? There's a lot of wild game in the South. We got wild pigs running around here all over the place. There's seasonal berries, seasonal mushrooms. I mean, learn your terrain. Learn what plants are medicinal, what plants are edible, which plants are poisonous for your area. Do it. Okay, learn how to... I heard you can trap squirrels with a rat trap and peanut butter nailed to a tree. Just hear it clap and you come back, get you some squirrels. Okay, you know why they're pulling up plants in the Bible? Because when they're starving, it's talking about the last days or the tribulation, everybody's starving, so they're pulling the plants up. You know why? Because there are bugs in there. They're eating the bugs. Those that tease you for preparedness won't be prepared, right? And so if God has only given you provisions and you know it for just your family and you've warned everybody else, you remember that saying that says, if you see the sword coming and you don't warn anybody, then the blood's on your hands. But if you see the sword coming and you warned them and they die, well, that's not on you. Your hands are clean there, okay? So if you've warned people and they don't even care enough to save their own lives, and you know for a fact that they could have done something. I'm not talking about people that have absolutely nothing or homeless. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about people you knew could have done it. Okay? Hello, Tammy. It's so good to see you. I love you, girl. All right. Buy metal live traps and breed wild animals. That's right. I like Batman with a bat cave. Okay. And don't forget, if you ever have to run, you know how to climb. Make sure you got some good shoes on. You can get up in them trees, because a lot of times they might be running through that forest after you, but they seldom look up. Okay. Oh, Tammy. There you go. There you go. All right. Survival. Just learn. We're gonna go back a few hundred years in time. Okay, for real. Oh, one last thing before I go. There was a solar fan. I told y'all I got it in. It was $25, and I wanted to tell y'all about it. And first of all, it's actually pretty good. It's got 5 different speeds or something for the fan. It does charge in the sun, and it does have these lights. Let me show you. Okay, this right here, the back of it, that's the solar part. It can sit on this little kickstand. And no, I'm not selling it or making money. I'm just showing you. Okay, I bought this for me, trying it out. And when the lights go out, especially if it's hot in the South, God, you always wished you had a fan. Okay, this one also comes with a hook. Okay, so like when you're, like you hang it up and you'll be looking at this part, and the lights, it has LED lights too. It has a totally different button you push for your lights. You can have the fan going and all these lights. They're LED lights. It's pretty cool. I like it, and again, I think when it's stifling, this is going to be really great in a power outage. And it doesn't need to be plugged in, but it can be plugged in to be charged into the wall. But guess what? It can also be a power bank to charge like your phone or probably just your phone. But, it does have a charging bank to it, battery bank. So I went ahead and put the link down for that, just in case y'all wanted it, in case y'all thought, oh man, I could use a little $25 fan, this will help, and it even has like red lights, white lights, red flashing lights, which for an epileptic like me, I hate that, but it does have it. Okay, just thought I'd throw that out there for you because I think this is so neat. Yes, Sunshine, the link is in the description box already. Actually did it for once. Got the links in there. I was almost late for the live stream, but I got it in there. Okay. Solar fan. That's what it's called. I don't know. It's in the links in the description box. You are so welcome. Well, thank you, Dazed and Confused. Let me see if there's anything else going on besides this hoodlum back here. Oh, yes. Okay. Hold on just a second. I got to answer this text super fast. Hold on. I'm so sorry. This is a really old phone, so I have to, if I have 4 letters, I have to, push 12 buttons. Okay. All right. I did that. Okay. Now, so we got these shelves, food rationing happening. Dabu saying that the U.S. only has 90 days of global supplies if production stops, and that hackers have already managed to infiltrate industry processing. Ooh, okay. And we have word going out all over the place that food prices are about to go up. I do have an article. It's by USA Today. Food prices are going up. Here are items predicted to cost a whole lot more at grocery stores. Their title, not mine. A whole lot more. Okay, so the United States saw record gas prices last month. Consumers can also expect to pay more at the grocery store. In total, food prices at stores and supermarkets are expected to increase 3 to 4% this year after already seeing a 6.8% jump. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I'm hearing the numbers are a lot higher than that. Situation will be closely monitored, but what they're looking at is poultry and eggs, from rotisserie chicken to raw breasts and thighs. Poultry items are expected to see the highest jump in prices, okay, because they're killing all our chickens. Okay, they're talking about the bird flu, but if they're testing that like they did the pandemic, I think it's the same way with them some kind of system. And I guess everybody will come, all the chickens will come up with some version. I don't know, man. Sometimes I'm just wondering really what's with the bird flu, but because all these birds are being cold, then eggs and chicken goes up. All right. Egg prices up during Easter, and a lot of people don't like the way that Easter and Christmas is celebrated. And I can't agree with that. But I found something interesting the other day, because a lot of people hide eggs. And I'm always wondering, what's that come from? Well, there's some kind of, in Jewish customs, like the Jews, during Passover, they had some kind of bag. And they had this matzah bread. They'd eat first, like it's the Last Supper kind of thing. And somebody in the house, like the mom, would have put the matzah in the bag and hid it around the house, and everybody would look after dinner to try to find this hidden bread around the house. Okay, some moms were really good, and they only found it a couple of times out of all those years. Okay, but this was a Jewish thing. This is a Jewish thing that had to do with Passover, and they're starting to realize, oh wait, this is so obvious. This was talking about Jesus. Okay, so I still don't know where Easter, like the egg, came from, but I definitely saw a correlation between ancient traditions. And I just thought I would share that with you. They have modified the bird flu, and it said it has not escaped yet, but they made it really bad. Thank you, K King. Yes, buy chicken. All right. What else was on this list? They said fats and oils, like poultry fats and oil products, are also expected to see a jump in prices. Fruits and vegetables. I mean, think about them avocados coming from Mexico. Cargo backed up and being caught on fire. Yeah, everything's happening. Everything. That storm that just pummeled the east side of America. Another storm after storm. Oh, non-alcoholic beverages like soda and juice. Sugar and sweets, cereal and bakery. Okay, so if you got a sweet tooth, that sugar's about to disappear. If you're hypoglycemic, you've got low blood sugar, you better get some extra sugar put up while you still can. Okay, all right. Okay. All right. Have you seen the Watch the Water on Rumble about the cobra venom? Yes, I did, K King. That was so interesting when you think about the snake on the pharmakia symbols, snakes. You know, very, very eye-opening, wasn't it? Jelly beans. There you go, Ever. I canceled all pagan holidays for the last 10 years. I don't think it's pagan to observe Passover. I don't think it's pagan to, celebrate the birth of Christ. I think what may have been pagan was the way it might have been celebrated. But at the same time, I don't think we should throw away celebrating Christ's birth, being happy about that, being thankful for what he did for us. I don't think we should throw that out, because he's God's son. That was a huge deal. You see what I'm saying? The way that people might have been doing it, okay, we can do without the tree and the eggs and Santa Claus, but we can't do without Christ. You see what I'm saying? We could call it Resurrection Day and hide that bag of matzah, armored saint. The people doing this are snakes. Yes, they are. Okay, serving Yeshua says the Easter egg symbolizes fertility. Okay, so that's why it doesn't seem like the Easter egg ever really fit. It really didn't. But the matzah bread in that little bag at Passover that the Jews have been doing forever, that makes sense. And it makes sense how the pagans could have transformed that into a holiday for themselves very covertly. Okay? Yes, tomorrow, Friday at dusk, begins Passover. We can do anything. All right. Snake also means knowledge. Passover is, but it's got to, I bet it's got to depend on the knowledge and what kind of knowledge it is, because the Bible also says that my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. So there's good knowledge, I'm assuming, and bad knowledge, holy and unholy. Yes, we are. We are supposed to celebrate Jesus every day. But I still like singing some of these songs, like, Oh Holy Night, Emmanuel. I love like cooking for my family and hugging everybody and seeing everybody, at my house and coming together, knowing that we as a family have the opportunity to honor Christ and as a united family under Christ. I love that. And I don't need a Christmas tree to do that. Okay, where to go? Well, like I've been saying for years, you should be about 80 to 100 miles away from the coast. If you're on the southern coast, that's what God's been telling me. Fact checkers might have a problem because the event hasn't happened yet, but I'm telling you, 80 to 100 miles. You really need to get at least that far off your coast, if you can. The chart. There's a lot of good candy that comes out during the resurrection weekend. A lot of good candy. What's on the coast? Gosh, the southern coast. You might have to just replay all that. Replay the video, replay the live. Yes, and flee the cities. Absolutely, Stone the Crows. All righty. I gotta go. I actually have to finish dinner, and my daughter will be home from work very soon. And we're having chicken quesadillas tonight. All right. And I love y'all. I'll be talking to you soon, at least once a week. And I just thank all of you for coming. I'm just always so glad to see you. I want so much for you. I want you. That's what I've really wanted all this time since I started this channel with full-blown amnesia, by the way, 7 years ago. all I wanted was to help you guys, to get you ready. And I knew y'all wouldn't believe me, but I also knew that I wasn't a phony and that eventually you would. And when the time came, we could figure this out. Okay? All right. I love y'all. Please be careful. Get ready what you can. If you don't have a land, get a bug out car ready. I don't know. Whatever you need to do it. Because necessity is the mother of all invention. Okay? Mwah. Love you guys. I'll see you next time.